of the story, and then you can look at the larger issues that you're looking at.
Rod Serling, I think, has famously said that when he was writing for television in the 50s, he had a lot of ideas, a lot of things that he wanted to express that had often kind of a political tinge to them, and or an ideological tinge to them, and he couldn't get them past the network and the sponsors and all those other people because they were very timid about what he was presenting, and so he invented the Twilight Zone. One of his reasons for inventing the Twilight Zone was to be able to present those same ideas, but by putting them in the mouths of an alien or a robot or something that was not a recognizable human being. He was able to kind of examine the exact same ideas, but they weren't as aggressive to, appearing aggressive to the viewer.
And I think that's what science fiction does best. It's thought experiments in other worlds that we create specifically in order to highlight some aspect of this that we want to look at closely.
Reduce magnification back to false. We are already 2 settings below that, sir.
Well, world building, creating a world other than the one we live in, is the heart of any, what we call genre these days, science fiction, fantasy, even horror. Because you're just taking anything that exists beyond what we know, stepping outside the world you live in, finding something that either frightens you or intrigues you or worries you, and just saying to yourself, well, what if aliens did show up? What if time travel was possible?
Planet building is interesting. You can hope that your readers are ignorant. Just say any damn thing. And say, well, Jahadpur, the Gadrellian, popped out of his egg one day and took a deep breath of chlorine and then decided that he would eat sunbeams for the rest of the day because he was tired of food. And you go, okay, now we've got to figure out how this thing works and what kind of a planet would allow him to do all these things.
You have to absolutely believe it and invest in it. And to create the language and the history and the mythology and the religious backstory, that was something, I ran a show called Caprica, where we had to do that for 12 different colonies. And I actually brought in an author, Bob Harris, to help us imagine what each of those worlds would have been like, what was their history, language, and religion.
When I first conceived of Avatar, I had these themes that I wanted to tell about our relationship with the natural world and so on, and I wanted to set it on another planet so that it acted more as a kind of an allegorical fantasy. I want to see the richest, most biodiverse planet I can imagine, and so of course I immediately thought of the rainforest, which is our most biodiverse biome on planet Earth. So for me, it had to be the ultimate rainforest. Everything was bigger, richer, lusher, bigger flowers, bigger plants, enormous trees, 300 meters tall in some cases. And then figuring out, backing in from that, reverse engineering, what's the logic for that? What's the rationale?
Yes, so what does hold them up? Grace explained it to me. Some kind of maglev effect, because unobtainium is a superconductor, or something.
First you invent it, then you set out writing the episodes or the stories or the books that involve that world, and then you get to treat it as if they're real. And you stop thinking of it as something you've invented and start thinking of it as something you're remembering.
And when you see Polyphemus in the sky, enormous, filling the sky, lighting the ground, then it really starts to feel like an alien world.
I've always thought that writing science fiction, one ought to pay attention to the process. That it shouldn't just be an excuse to write fantasies that are set out in the future and which you proclaim that this could come true, even though you're including things like faster than light travel and aliens that speak English after 2 minutes. And many other obviously fantastical elements that don't really have to do with how things will be in the future, but are more wish fulfillments or dream narratives. You can't just fly to Mars and go on a backpacking trip and come back home. It's absurd. What you would need is the actual communal basis. You'd need human settlement of Mars, a saw that one could then write a story about the inhabitation of Mars that would include terraforming the place, and then backpacking wouldn't be this bizarre spaceship trip, but would be part of what a culture did there.
If I made dragons my critters, what would I do with them, and why would I have them? You can't just dump alien creatures someplace without their having a position in the ecology of the planet. Okay, why would we want dragons? Well, because they fly and they breathe fire. My planet has an aerial menace that has to be burned before it hits the ground because it's omnivorous and will just lay waste to anything. It eats animals, minerals, and vegetation.
I think that some writers handle language very well, and I know that Lucas tries to do that, or did try to do that in Star Wars films by drawing from real-world languages.
He doesn't like you. Sorry. I don't like you either.
I think it's something that's very easy to miss. Everyone speaking the same English, or everyone's got the same accent.
That's impossible.
No, it's just very improbable.
Listen, Sam.
Film and television often uses aliens and robots to kind of distill humanity down to kind of the purest. For example, absolutely pure logic in like the character of Mr. Spock, or pure innocence, like E.T., for example, or pure malevolence in the Terminator, and therefore you're able to examine that aspect of humanity that much more closely.
Writing science fiction and fantasy, I can imagine change. Change is possible. And heaven knows we live in a world where change is necessary. And I can see it in the literature itself, where I go back and look at the older stories, and you can sort of see where it began to change, that you could imagine women in a position of power. And now it's old hat. In science fiction, at least, it's still changing in the real world. But in science fiction, at least, women are no longer necessarily running around in brass bikinis with high heels and laser guns, unless we really want to.
I think science fiction is a look into the future, and it takes ideas of what a future would be like, what a society would be like, what other worlds might be like, and literalizes them, accurately or inaccurately, or for better or for worse. Every movie is a little telescopic look into some narrow fragment of what the future would be like.
You're sometimes following an impulse, a dream, a fear. Sometimes you may not actually be in control of what you're doing and creating this world, but still, the real fun is you get to make up the house names. You get to make up the characters. You get to have them be anything you want, subject only to the limits of your imagination. So, yeah, it's playing God.